Welcome back. So I'll be talking about reading from Harriet Jacobs and talking about what people were eating at the time. So, quote, when I had been working a month at the plantation, the great aunt of Mr. Flint came to make him a visit. This was the good old lady who had paid $50 from my grandmother for the purpose of making her free. When she stood on the auction block, my grandmother loved this old lady, whom we all called Miss Fanny. She often came to take tea with us. On such occasions, the table was spread with snow white cloth, and china cups and silver spoons were taken from the old-fashioned buffet. There were hot muffins, tea, rusks, and delicious sweetmeats. My grandmother kept 2 cows, and the fresh cream was Miss Fanny's delight. Now listen to what working enslaved people were fed at the time. The next day, my new mistress began her housekeeping. I was not exactly appointed maid of all the work, but I was to do whatever I was told. Monday evening came. It was always a busy time. On that night, the slaves received their weekly allowance of food, 3 pounds of meat for the week, a peck of corn, and perhaps a dozen herring were allowed each man. Women received 1.5 pounds of meat, less a peck of corn, and the same number of herrings. Children over 12 years old had half the allowance of women. The meat was cut and weighed by the foreman of the field hands and piled on planks before the meat house. Then the second foreman went behind the building, and when the first foreman called out, "Who takes this piece of meat?" he answered by calling somebody's name. This method was resorted to as a means of preventing partiality in distributing the meat. The young mistress came out to see how things were done on her plantation, and she soon gave a specimen of her character. Among those waiting in line for their allowance was a very old slave who had faithfully served the Flint family through 3 generations. When he hobbled up to get his bit of meat, the mistress said he was too old to have any allowance, that when N-words were too old to work, they ought to be fed on grass. Poor old man, he suffered much before he found rest in the grave. That's where I stop. Come listen to the whole thing. Thanks for listening.